Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's video. This one's called What Our Wives Wish We Knew. So tonight I want to talk about something that a lot of the ladies that I talk to who are or have been in relationship wish their husbands knew, which is how to have a conversation. They wish that we knew how to talk to them in such a way that doesn't make one or both of us feel diminished, less than. They wish we could talk to them like a person. And there's a few ways that we neglect or refuse or just don't know how to do this. One way is when our feelings get hurt. When our feelings get hurt in a conversation because of something she said, or because of how we react to something she said, or because of what something she said or did and what we think that means, we react most often with anger. And when we react with anger, our energy increases. What I mean by that is we get louder, we have more violent motions, as in we move faster, we move quicker, we move more violently. Sometimes we actually have violent actions where we raise a hand, or maybe there's a few guys who even do hit their wives. Still, that happens. And that scares them. Whether we raise our voice or simply get more animated in how we act, or whether we actually have physical violence, in any of those ways, most wives are scared by that, get scared by that. When we get angry, it scares our wives. And that shuts down communication. Most wives, when they get scared because their husband is angry, they're no longer open to communication, and they don't believe we're any longer open for communication. Now, I do know from experience that some guys actually communicate quite easily when they're angry, when they're yelling or animated or very heightened emotionally. Some guys, not very many, but some guys can communicate that way. However, it doesn't matter if you can communicate that way. If the person you're trying to talk to feels scared, they can't communicate that way. And therefore, communication shuts down. Whether the communication shut down because you're animated, because you're angry and can't respond to them in the way they need you to or ask you to, or whether the communication shuts down because they can't respond and shut down. Either way, when you get angry, there's a 99% chance that communication shuts down. So if you can learn how to be angry and control the energy coming out of your voice and out of your body while you're angry, you can probably have better communication with your spouse. You can talk to them. Now, I'm not asking you to tell her how to do that. I don't care what her reactions are. Most of the time, her reactions don't physically threaten you. And even if they did, I'm not talking to her. But the vast majority of women that I have talked to do feel threatened when their partner gets angry. They feel physically in danger. So that's one thing that stops communication. Another is when we have a judgment or an opinion or an idea that is different than theirs, and we're not willing to discuss it and come to a joint conclusion. What I mean by that is when we think we're right and they're wrong, or we think that what they're saying to us is wrong, or that when we judge that the communication, the ideas we're talking about that I'm right or you're wrong, or you're right, or I think that you're telling me you're right and I'm wrong. If I think you're telling me I'm wrong, or if I'm telling you you're wrong, that stops communication. The very concept of right and wrong prevents communication. The very idea that there is a right and a wrong way to think, way to do, way to act, way to be, way to exist, that very idea stops communication. When one person thinks their way is right and the other person is wrong, or when one person interprets the other person as doing that, that stops communication. It's very hard to communicate when I'm being told I'm wrong. It's very hard to communicate when I'm telling the other person they're wrong. The idea of right and wrong is like an army in combat. As soon as there's a right side and a wrong side, there's a combat. And if you want to calmly and openly communicate with your spouse, combat's not how you do that. Two countries don't send their armies to war so their generals can work out the problem. That's what diplomats are for. By the time the armies are involved, there is no solution to the problem. So if one person is wrong and one person is right, there is no solution to the problem at that point. As soon as there's a right or wrong in the conversation, there is no solution. There's no compromise. There's no coming together. So there's two ways to solve that. Either A, stop telling the other person they're wrong and you're right, or stop trying to convince them that you have the right answer and they don't, or stop trying to make them believe your way, because that's another version of right and wrong. And instead trying to hear what they actually want and try and help them hear what you actually want. That's where communication comes from. That's what diplomats do. Diplomats go to the table. Diplomats from two countries go to the table and they say, well, my country wants this and your country wants that. How can we both get what we want, or at least get some of what we want? That's what diplomats do. Countries send out diplomats when they want to resolve the problem. Countries send out armies when they want the other one to back down. If you want your spouse to back down, then why are you together? If you want your spouse to admit they're wrong, then how are you going to make him or her feel loved? Our wives wish we knew how to properly communicate in calm tones of voice without so much emotion. That's not to mean we can't get angry. It just means when we do, don't get so animated. Don't get so aggressive. Don't raise your voice. Don't yell at me. Don't use your body to express your emotions. Simply say what you want to say. I can see your emotions in your face. I don't need the rest of your body to be involved. I can see your emotion. I can hear your emotion in your words. I don't need it in your tone of voice. I can hear when you're telling me I'm wrong, because now I feel like I have to defend. And if I have to defend, I'm not going to do that with a diplomat. I can hear when I'm telling you I'm wrong, because I'm also not doing that with a diplomat. Whenever one side has to fight against the other, there's armies involved. So what our wives wish we knew was how to communicate with diplomats instead of armies. What our wives wish we knew is how to hear their heart, especially when it's in pain. Because oftentimes they only know how to talk about the pain in conversation. What our wives wish we knew is that we could hear when they've been hurt without getting angry over their hurt. That's what they wish we knew. If you want any help in doing that, drop a line. You know where to find me. I'd love a comment. If this information was helpful, obviously like the video, subscribe to the channel. There'll be more of this coming as often as I can put it out here. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.